I'm the director of cadet leadership and development here at Cal Poly Maritime Academy. In my role, I work with all of the cadets. So, there's about 762 of them, and really anything. There's a side of conduct, but also, we wear the father hat. We wear a lot of hats here. So, really anything to do with your student, and if they're in the Corps Cadets, it's probably going to involve me. So they'll get to know me well. But I'm going to pass it over to Captain Bannister real quick to introduce herself before I go into the little presentation.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Welcome, family and friends. Captain Bannister here. I am an alumni of Cal Maritime, class of 2000, just a couple years ago. I am the captain on Training Ship Golden Bear. I am also the director of marine programs, and I oversee the waterfront with all the vessels and the activities that take place there. I have the pleasure of taking the students their freshman year and their junior year on a 65-day training cruise where we get to train hands-on activities, and they get to practice everything they've learned in the classrooms. So happy to answer any questions. I'm going to let Jay start with his presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Captain Bannister. And I'm not sure if Craig, are you on, Craig?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good, Craig. Go ahead, Craig.
How's it going, everybody? Glad you're here. I can't get my video to work. I apologize.
It's okay. So Craig's our assistant director for cadet leadership and development, and he works closely with all the cadets as well. All right. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And whoops, that's not what I wanted. Hold on one second. There we go. Can you see a PowerPoint right now? Okay, excellent. All right, this technology. All right, so really, just to talk about Cal Poly Maritime Academy, formerly Cal Maritime, it has a rich history. We're going on 100 years old. I've only been here 29 years less than Vanita, and I'm not sure about Captain Bannister, but really there's a lot of tradition here, and there's a lot of great things that have come out of Cal Maritime over the years. Go to the next, whoops. And really one of the things that we try to focus on here is the all crew, no passengers mentality. So that's an outward bound thing if you're familiar with the expeditionary schools. But really, the cadets really can't just think about themselves, because when they're on the ship, when they're out at sea, every decision they make, it really affects the entire team. So that's the mentality we try to instill, because whether they go work in the maritime industry on a ship after they complete their time here or go work in an office setting, that same concept and that same skill applies. They have to be able to be a good shipmate, be a good team player. And one thing I've learned, I've only been here a year, and what I've learned here at Cal Poly Maritime Academy is, in different places you go, everybody's really thinking about that final destination. Like, once I finish this, once I complete my sophomore year, in my junior year. But wow, here, like, it's so unique at this university, like the experiences that these students have. Like, yes, it's demanding, but it's just amazing the experiences they have here, getting to sail on the training ship Golden Bear. Like, I just did that for the last 65 days with Captain Bannister and the cadets. In the places they go, seeing the younger freshmen mentored under the seniors is just so powerful. And then all the leadership opportunities here on campus. I mean, we're a small campus. We have probably maybe 900 students. And that's so much different rather than a campus that has 30,000 students. So the opportunities are limitless. And that's another thing we try to focus on, is just slow down, be in the moment, and really focus on the journey. And that's really what it's like being a cadet. It's a journey. And with that, so our mission for the Corps Cadets, our program is really, it's a program focused on developing leadership and professionalism. So the maritime industry, they have certain expectations of our graduating cadets. And that's one thing that we do as far as the Office of Cadet Leadership and Development. We try to support this and help this through providing activities to foster professionalism. In addition to that, the sea has real risk. That has never changed, and it'll always be there. So working with folks like Captain Bannister and her team, and many others on campus, we try to help train cadets so they're able to operate with the least risk as possible. And that's really the theme of the Corps Cadets. And it's based off of, and I'll go into it as we go on, but it's not about me. It's not just about Captain Bannister. It's really about the cadets. It's a mentorship model. They're really running the show. So, and also too, I want to point out at the very bottom, it is federally mandated that we do have a Corps of Cadets, regimented Corps of Cadets, and that we have rules and regulations and a demerit system. So that's one of the reasons why we have it. But also, from my experience, I'm coming from San Francisco State University, part of the California State University system, and there, I was trying to train the students just with time management and setting goals and organization. But our students, they have to be able to do that. They have to be able to do that to succeed. So then, since they're already doing it, then you can focus on the bigger things, right? That's really what sets them apart. And Craig and Captain Benson, feel free to stop me at any point if you want to add anything. I like to kind of to phrase it as a metaphor with the circles of responsibility. So think about it. Your students, a first year cadet coming into Cal Poly Maritime Academy, they're going to have the least amount of privilege to do different things, meaning they're brand new. They're here to learn. They're here to learn how to be a cadet, learn from the upperclassmen, but they also have the least amount of responsibility because they're learning. So then as they're learning more in their classrooms and are able to apply those concepts and theories while they're out in a traineeship or out in internship, they gain more responsibility. And that just keeps on growing each year. And that kind of depicts the outer circle. And that's the ultimate goal, to get to that outer circle and then be able to give back to the incoming freshmen as they come on board. And so as I mentioned, the station, and it's all about the journey earlier. So our cadets, they go through all four phases. So it's a progression process. They start off as a fourth class cadet, and that's at the very top. And our theme is really active followership. So they're really learning to follow the rules. They're learning what the chain of command is. They're learning what it's like to wear a uniform, what their reporting structure is, who they can go to, just building community. That's really what it's about, being a 4C, a fourth class cadet. And then as they grow, as they get experience and come off the Golden Bear after that first summer, they become third class cadets. And really this phase of being in the Corps, we focus on that peer leadership, that being a good shipmate. So here where it's a heavy focus on team building skills. And at this point, a lot of cadets are really kind of finding out what maybe interests them on campus. So we're also trying to instill and provide those opportunities for those cadets to have stepping stones into leadership, whether it be in the Corps cadets or within associated students or in community engagement learning. That's what we start focusing on. And then as they go into their traditional third year, the second class cadet, that's a designated leadership phase. And that's where the cadets specifically are selected to serve in formal leadership roles, both on land and at sea. And I'll let Captain Bannister talk about it in a little bit, but our cadets, they're running the ship. There's actually a side of the ship up in the bridge where you have the licensed watch officers and crew, like Captain Bannister, and then the other side you have the cadets. And they're the ones running the show, and then you have the licensed watch officers there just to make sure everything is going smoothly. And then last but not least, we have our first class cadets. So those are our seniors and really focusing on that mentorship. So at this point, they pretty much know. They know way more than I do as far as with the operations, but they're able to take those younger cadets underneath their wings and help mold them, shape them, and it's a great leadership opportunity moving forward. But also too, when you get in the 1C year, that last year, that's when they have to take their U.S. Coast Guard exams, and at that point they're pretty burned out too because it's demanding. So we're also trying to guide them and focus on that self-leadership piece just to make sure that they're set up as they move on into their next journey away from Cal Poly Maritime Academy. Just as mentioned earlier, our current Corps cadets, it's roughly 762 as of I think it was yesterday. That number can fluctuate. That's roughly 84% of our student body, which is pretty awesome. It's a pretty big portion. And just know that whether your student's in the Corps or not, every student that attends Cal Poly Maritime Academy has the option to join the Corps cadets. Even if they choose not to be a part of it initially, they can choose to join it at a later time. And our organization and structure. So the way it works is each one of your students that's in the Corps of Cadets, they're all divided into three companies, and that's by major. So we have our deck division, which is our marine transportation, our engineers, our engine, and then our MPM. That's going to be the oceanography, ISS, as well as IBL degrees. And those folks do not have to be in the Corps, but they choose to be. So it's a really powerful thing. And then those companies are farther divided up into divisions. And depending on our enrollment, those divisions there can be more divisions or there can be less divisions. As you can see, there's currently only one M for one MP for MPM because there's maybe only 60 total of those students. However, as we grow, we'll go back to 4 divisions. So that's the goal. And then with core leadership, I spoke about earlier of them being selected. So currently we have 20 formal, very competitive core leadership positions. However, those core leaders also select assistant core leaders and XOs to help them. So a lot of the younger underclassmen that are interested in it, they have opportunities to lead as well underneath the wing of an upperclassman. Membership in the Corps, I kind of talked a little bit about this. If your student is pursuing a major that with a U.S. Coast Guard license, such as mechanical engineering license track or marine transportation, they're required to be in the Corps Cadets for the lifetime that they're here at Cal Poly Maritime Academy. Others, such as just mechanical engineering non-licensed track or your facilities engineering technology, those students are required to be in the Corps Cadets for a limited term, and then they may choose to leave. However, many of them choose to stay in. And then last but not least, you have those folks that I said that weren't required at all to be in the Corps Cadets, such as your oceanography students. They can choose to join and leave at any point in time. For accountability, we do it through a series of different things, but 3 of the main accountability pieces for the Corps Cadets is formation. Formations where we all come together as a group. It's a great vehicle for sharing information and announcements. On the ship, we do it every single day at 0700. Captain Bannister is able to share information right to the cadets. And here on campus, we do it maybe 3 times a week. But there, it's a great opportunity to hold each other accountable. We do uniform and grooming inspections, as well as we have different divisional activities to foster divisional pride. Well, watch standing, it's a requirement not only at sea, but also while the ship is in port. It's a security thing, but it's also a leadership piece. Captain Bannister, do you want to talk at all on watch standing?
Yeah, Jay, I sure will. So when the cadets, and if I'm jumping ahead, Jay, just tell me we're going to
Sure.
cover this. But we stand a watch during the academic year and during summer sea term. This counts for part of the sea time that is required from the Coast Guard in order for the students to get their 3rd mate unlimited and their 3rd assistant engineer license. So in port, there are different positions that they stand their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year. And just as Jay has described, that goes into a hierarchy with responsibilities and mentorship. At sea, it's the same thing. We stand a watch on the bridge of the ship if they're on the deck department, and in the engine department, they stand a watch in the engine room. When we go to sea, the cadets go through 4 different rotations. It's 7 days a week. So one of those rotations is watch standing, one is classroom, one is day work, and one is assessments for STCW, which is the requirements for them to get a license. They have to be assessed in all different categories. So part of that watch standing is required by the United States Coast Guard, and it serves as their sea time for their credentials when they become a senior.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Speaking of uniforms, I talked a little bit about inspections, but here we have 3 main uniforms. You can see up in the left-hand corner here, that's our khaki uniform. That's going to be our uniform of the day. So if you're on campus, this is going to be the uniform that your students can be wearing the most often. On your right-hand side, that's our dress uniform. We call it salt and pepper uniform. And so that uniform as a first-year cadet probably won't be wearing as much, but as they progress through the different phases, they'll be wearing it more because there'll be a lot of different opportunities to attend leadership conferences, maybe the gala, and then definitely when they're actually, I take that back. When they are first year students on summer sea term, they will be wearing their salt and peppers. Every time we arrive in port, we're wearing our salt and peppers to make sure that we're looking the best and representing Cal Poly Maritime Academy well and each other. And then last but not least, the down bottom, you'll see the 2 sets. There's a set of coveralls and overalls. That's our working uniform. So as Captain Bannister mentioned, we have students down in the engine room. This is what they're wearing down in the engine room, as well as you might see cadets wearing this as they're doing day work on the ship, just because you wouldn't want to get the other uniforms dirty. So that's our uniforms, and I'm not 100% sure what it will look like with Cal Poly Maritime Academy, but this is what it is this coming year. And that khaki is very historic, very traditional here. So with that, the Corps of Cadets, there is a rules and regulations, as I mentioned previously by the Code of Federal Regulations. It's a requirement that all state maritime academies have a regimented Corps of Cadets as well as a rules and regulations. So now what's in the rules and regulations has flexibility per each state maritime academy, but it is required and it's really our guiding book. And it states all of the regulations in there as far as uniforms, our grooming standards, but it also talks about drug testing. And in there, you'll find our code of conduct. So our code of conduct is different rules that students could potentially break while they're on campus. Let's say drinking alcohol, we're a dry campus. So if they are found responsible for drinking alcohol here on campus, within that code of conduct, there's a range of demerits, which I'll talk about in a second. But everything's in that book, and it's something that we'll be sharing with all of your students here in the coming weeks. And then as they start here on campus, we'll be going through this book with them as well as the upperclassmen to teach them everything inside of it. I talked a little bit about demerits, and it's a confusing concept to some, but think of a demerit. Again, it's a requirement to have, but a demerit is really, it serves as a measurable indicator of the severity of an infraction. So let's say your student is caught for, unfortunately drinking, right, when they're not supposed to here on campus. There's a range of demerits that the cadet gets. Let's say it's between 20 and 20 demerits. That's, maybe 30 demerits for an incident like that. If they miss something like, let's say they miss a formation, maybe that's only going to be 10 demerits. So it's a lower measurable indicator of the actual infraction of happening. So that's what that serves as. However, if somebody is found responsible for breaking in a rules and regulation, not only will there be demerits provided, but typically there's something for extra duty. And what extra duty is, that's being able to provide back to the campus. This is a service. So most of our extra duty before the ship was just relocated happened on the training ship Golden Bear, because she's old and she needs a lot of work and we couldn't do it without the cadets. But really it's if you're breaking the rules, you provide that service back to make up for it, then it clears it out and you move forward. And cadets learn a lot from it, but again, it's a requirement that we have to have. As you can see down bottom, though, there is a maximum demerit limit. And if cadets do reach those certain thresholds, it could put them at potential of being suspended from the university, which we never want that. So we work the best we can, and we'll work the best we can with your students as well. So I don't want that to scare anybody, but this is really what sets us up apart. We have higher standards than a regular university because these students are going into very demanding yet lucrative career fields. And Captain Bass, I'm gonna hand this back over to you as well. If you don't mind, you talked a little bit about summer sea term, but maybe if you want to elaborate any more between that and commercial.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. So as I mentioned, the cadets, the system is set up so that in the 4 years, their freshman year after their academic year, they come on the Golden Bear and soon to be the Golden State for their summer sea term. During this time, as a freshman, they learn the nomenclature of the maritime world. Every industry has its own language, and we're no different. So they come aboard and they go through those 4 rotations. They learn the nomenclature, and as a freshman, they're actually the ones that are steering the 500-foot ship underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. So right off the bat, they're doing hands-on work that affects real life situation. So which is pretty awesome. So that's their freshman year. They come on, and if they're deck, they work on the deck side. If they're engine, they work on the engine side. This last year, we had oceanography students on board, and the oceanography students, we had a pilot program, and we deployed a vessel on the way from San Diego to Kauai, and they took water samples and did testing and labs, and then they would present to the crew, which was pretty awesome. So that's their freshman year. Their sophomore year, they go out on a commercial cruise, and that is dictated by their demerits and their GPA. So this is with real life marine professionals. So they could be on a tanker, a container, a ferry, offshore oil rigs. They could be on, but it has to be a certain horsepower and a certain tonnage to qualify for the sea time with the United States Coast Guard. So it can't be on a small vessel. It has to be of a vessel of a certain horsepower and tonnage. So that's their sophomore year. It's a really good experience. I was on a tanker, and it really gave me a pretty good understanding and opened my eyes to what the industry is all about. Then they come back in their junior year, they go back on the Golden Bear, and now they're the top of the pecking order, and they stand the watch. They're the seniors on the bridge, so they are what we call uh, they stand the watch. So they are the cadet master or cadet officer, and they do collision avoidance, they do mentoring of the younger class, they do communication on the radio. In the engine room, they control all the panels, they do all the gauges, they set the other cadets over to do meters and everything like that. So they pretty much run the watch. We like to hold the senior, we call them seniors, even there they just finished their junior year and they're going to seniors. We call them their seniors. We try to treat them as if they're third assistant engineers and third mates. So we want them to run the watch from the top down. And in the beginning of cruise, it's there, you can see some hesitancy. And by the end of cruise, it's pretty awesome to see how they're running with it, and their confidence is high, their technical ability is high. It's pretty sweet. When we came in this a couple weeks ago, the senior on watch actually was able to take the con from the pilot, and they actually did all the conning all the way up through San Francisco, right short of the pier, which was pretty sweet to see. So that's their junior year. And then their senior year, after their academic year, the system is they take their Coast Guard exam, they graduate, and they go make money. So that's kind of the 4 years that that is a typical schedule. There are those that get off schedule, and there are those that are on a 3-year program if they're transfers. It's kind of hard to be a transfer because the classes are very specified, but that is the summer sea term. We typically go to 4 to 5 ports. We do international ports so that they can get an international experience. There's a lot that goes into the planning for the summer sea term. There's requirements, how many arrivals and departures. We have to have clear skies for celestial navigation. We need to make sure that everybody goes through the plant and pre-arrival checks, pre-departure checks. So there's a lot that happens and a lot of requirements that get put into the training and the itinerary. But it's a very exciting chapter in a cadet's life. And it's grueling. It's 7 days a week. And as Jay mentioned, we have formation up on the flight deck every single day at 7 a.m. And that is for 2 purposes. The first purpose is to do the plan of the day and disseminate information that's going to be happening that day, that week, coming up with the next port. And the second is accountability. So if anybody is late, then we have to send a runner and make sure that they are counted because we don't want to lose anybody. And so it's a 2-prong purpose. And cruise is really a spectacular time. It is a lot of work. It's very demanding. And there's ups and downs to it. But at the end, and I would say probably a week after it's over, everybody's telling great sea stories. So it's a very exciting time for everybody. Vanita, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Captain. Would you mind sharing just very briefly how students get their billets for commercial cruise and what's the process of completing that class after their time is done on the vessel they did their training on?
So for commercial cruise, there will be a list of companies that have been vetted and approved by the campus to accept cadets. And once that list comes out, those cadets that have a better GPA and that have the minimum amount of demerits, they kind of get the top pick of the vessels. And different people want different aspects. Some people want to go on a tanker. Some people want to go on a large tugboat to get their time on that. Others want to go on a cruise ship to get their time on that. So it really varies on what the students' desires are. And when they go out on a commercial cruise, they have to do a sea project. So it's not as if they just go out and they're free for the run. By and large, the companies will agree to work the cadets 4 to 6 hours. And that work could be standing a watch on the bridge. It could be a cargo watch, watching cargo, whatever that cargo is. And then they get time to do their sea project. So their sea project is a big part of that. Well, it is how they get graded. There's evaluations that get taken by their leadership. So if you're an engine cadet, the first assistant and the chief engineer would do an evaluation on the cadet. And that is a big part of the grade. But your C project is what gets submitted to the academy. There's requirements that are the same to every cadet. So whether you're deck or engine, you have to do the same paperwork as everybody else does. And it's a lot about learning the ship, learning the cargo, learning the process. And each ship and each company, they do things a little bit differently. And so you can kind of gauge how the real companies do it. So does that answer the question, Vanita? Is there anything I need to elaborate on?
It was perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jay, for your patience.
Yeah, no worries. I think I only have one or two more slides here. Let's see. Oh, I think this is the last slide. So really going back to, so the whole program, the whole Corps Cadets, the whole experience, it's really a leadership laboratory, for lack of better terms. But also in addition to that, we are very fortunate through the generous gift of Tom and Libby Edwards. There are some donors. We have a program called Edwards Leadership Development Program, which is tied into our Corps Cadets, as well as the rest of our campus student body. And just wanted to kind of elaborate really what that was real quick. So it's really exciting this year. It's brand new. Well, this is going to be a brand new portion of it. There is going to be 3 one-unit academic leadership courses embedded into opportunity for any student that can take. And those 3 leadership courses, there's one entry level one, and you have to do that one before you do the next one. And then the third one won't start till next year, but you'll be able to take that one at any point in time. It won't have that prerequisite. But if you take those 3 courses, not only it's a great opportunity, you're gaining additional experience, but you also are going to be able to, from my understanding, will get an extra like Edwards Leadership Development Program certificate, as well as potentially something on your transcript. But with that also, this year we're starting where there's 10 faculty members, and it's called the Faculty Fellows. So they're taking the learning outcomes of the Edwards Leadership Development Program and then also incorporating those learning outcomes into their classes. So whether a student decides to take 1 or 2 or 3 of those extra one-unit courses, they're still going to be getting a lot of the same learning outcomes. And the whole goal of it is to create a baseline, because leadership's 1,000 different things. You really can't pinpoint exactly what leadership is because there's so many things. But what this does is really kind of creates a baseline so we can all talk about or at least talk about very similar framework of leadership, if that makes sense. And one other thing I wanted to note, if a student does end up taking all the one-unit academic courses, it does count as that 3 units per their, I believe I don't know, is it called elective, Vanita, or, okay, yeah, elective requirement. So that's that. And then in addition to that, one really important component and unique thing that we're doing here is the professionalism development, such as an etiquette dinner. All right, it's a very unique experience where students will have the opportunity to learn. They'll learn how to participate in a formal dinner, like those 14 forks on the left of the plate there. What do you do with all those forks, etc. Right? But then in addition to that, like how to give a proper handshake or email etiquette. Like I've been surprised, like students, they really need this. Even some of us our age, we need this. So we're going to focus on this and kind of how do you handle yourself in professional settings. So I think that's a really unique thing that everybody in the Corps Cadets will have an opportunity to do. And then last but not least, but I know something that Craig and I, and even Captain Bannister, we're all pretty passionate about. It's new to this campus is the Maritime Outdoor Leadership Program. And it's really built off of the Outward Bound Expeditionary and Knowles models. And Outward Bound basically started after World War II. The British merchant ships were being sunk by the German U-boats, and they're finding that the older sailors or the younger sailors were really struggling surviving in the North Atlantic. But they were finding that the older sailors were doing much better, and they were why. And it was just the fact that it wasn't that they knew how to sail better, but they knew how to work together. They knew how to work together as a team. So that's really what this program is focused about, but it's also an R&R piece as well. We want to get students off campus because it's so demanding here. So we want to get them off campus, be able to go on a backpacking trip, go on a camping trip, but it's going to be led by students. So we're able to offer the skills, build them up where they take other students out. So it's another vehicle for leadership, as well as just a piece for recreation. So I wanted to throw that in there. ELDP is going to be a huge component of their academic experience. So that's the end of our presentation. I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of the sharing screen. And I believe at this time, I'm gonna hand it back over to Vanita because I think she's gonna control how questions come in.
Wow, control is such a strong word.
Nervous.
But I'll start reading the questions as you see. If you're ready to answer, just jump in and take the question. How many students in each company?
It's increasing, but typically there's about, and Jay, you can correct me, about 30 to 45 students, and that's per class per company. And so you'll have freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, all part of that division. So there's 4 divisions of deck, 4 divisions of engine, and then and then the 1 division of the other. And Jay, you can correct me here.
Yeah, no, and that's so basically overall, if you're looking at about 100 or 760 cadets across the Corps, when you're thinking about a division, like what Captain Bannister was talking about, a typical Marine Transportation Division, let's say 1D, has about 90 cadets in it, right? Between on class, maybe 30 some students, right, at like maybe a senior level, but about 90 students across all of 1D, and that's going to be the same across pretty much all deck divisions. I think engineering this year probably sitting around 85, so it's increased, so it's almost at the same level as deck. And then currently right now, yeah, MPM we're at 60. So originally when I started last year, MPM had 4 divisions. There was about 10 students in each division, and it just looks really small. So we put them together, and they're almost at the same size as the smallest engineering division, and they're going to keep growing, and then we'll be able to expand. So yeah, hopefully, so if you do the math, what 90 times 4, what does that give you? 4 times 9, 30, 360 students in a company. I guess if you in between MT and engineering or something like that, about 300 some students. So.
All right. This is for oceanography majors. Would they take part in the summer at sea activities every summer? And how would that interfere with their other activities required by major?
Yeah, so I don't think it's a requirement to do every year. Again, as Captain Bannister mentioned earlier, this year there was a pilot program, which was a huge success. So I think, as we get the new ship that's going to hold a lot more folks, there's going to be a lot more opportunity. So basically, yeah, I don't know. That's what I have. Captain Bannister, you want to elaborate on that, or Craig?
I just want to say that every student here has to do an internship. I think a minimum of 2 internships. So the students are not required to go on training ship Golden Bear as of right now. We did have some students that came aboard, and it was a pilot program, and it did count for their internship. But if they don't come on the Golden Bear, then they do have to do something else. And I believe it's 2 in the 4 years. I believe that's what it is.
And if I may add, I did hear from the dean. Well, he's now the chair, I believe, of oceanography, Alex Parker. He did mention that they will continue to explore a semester at sea or their time at sea for oceanography students. So because the pilot program was so successful, they will continue that if it works with the captain, of course. That would count as one of their 2 required internships. So it will never be either or, it won't conflict, but it'll serve as one of theirs. And they can do the same one. They can go to the on the ship twice if that's what they choose to do. Where will summer sea term head next summer?
So that is a great question, and it's something that everybody asks about every other week. There is a tremendous amount of work that goes into the planning for summer sea term. The itinerary is always one of those, everybody's waiting for the details. There's a lot of approvals that we have to do. With our integration with Cal Poly, they now have part of the say in where we're going. There's some thoughts that have been roaming around. I don't want to put anything out so that to disappoint anybody. But Cal Poly does have a decision. We do have a cruise or a summer sea term committee that involves faculty, staff, cadets, and administration. So I work with the superintendent, and we kind of have a selection of summer sea terms. They, as I mentioned, it has to have so many arrivals, departures, so many days underway, clear skies for celestial, international experience. And then if we take oceanography, that has to be incorporated into our planning for distance, speed, fuel, budget, and all of that. So I can't say where we're going this year, but every year is exciting and they're all very unique. So this year we went to San Diego, Kauai, Guam, Saipan, Seattle, back to Vallejo. Last year we went to Hawaii, South Korea, Yokohama, Japan, Los Angeles, back to campus. And then the year before that, we did Mexico, Samoa, that's Western Samoa, Hawaii, Astoria, and back to Vallejo. So this year is going to be exciting as well. And I know that Cal Poly is excited to incorporate some of their business strategies and everything like that into it.
Thank you, Captain. Are the cadets with other classmates when they go on commercial cruise?
Typically, we send them out in groups of 2. Normally, that's what they go out in. I went with at that time, the business cadets also had a degree. So I went out with the business cadet when I went out on a ship. And yeah, normally it might not be in the same division, but they do get sent out in pairs.
Thank you. Can transfer students do the ELDP?
Absolutely, yeah. So ELDP will be available to all students here on campus, even though, so basically 2 years ago, all students were cadets, and last year started that pathway where we have traditional students, so students that are not in the Corps cadets, and then students in the Corps. But the ELDP will be available to all students. So you'll see a lot of that advertisement once they arrive here on campus.
Thank you. Is the training on commercial vessels done over summer for 60 to 90 days? Please confirm. And where are these billets typically located?
So the answer is yes, it's over the summer. And it's actually most of the time it's between 60 to 110 days. That is all based on how much sea time the student has. Some students get internships that are shorter, and then they're going to have to make up some of that time because they have to have 1 year's of sea time for the Coast Guard in order to sit for their license. Location-wise, the world is their oyster. So it's kind of wherever the company is going to fly them. Most of the time, it's West Coast for us because that's where we're located. So we have a lot of cadets that go to the West Coast, but we have cadets that go to the Gulf. We had quite a few cadets that went out to Guam and they worked with Cabras with their tugs. They actually knew a bunch of the people when we went out there this year. So they could go anywhere. East Coast, Gulf, West Coast, they go all over.
And also these opportunities are not published anywhere. They go to the career services and they are, the students arrange with career services to pick their assignment. Once students return from summer sea term, are they able to return home until fall semester starts, or do they stay on campus?
They are able to go home. So there's not a huge summer for the students here, but they do get some time off and they are welcome to go home. And yes.
Is the Golden State going to be delivered in time for the sale next summer? Is there a list of items we need to buy to supplement the uniform, shoes, boots, etc.? So 2 very separate questions.
The Golden State currently is not scheduled to be delivered until 2027. We have just relocated the Golden Bear so that we can start the construction of the new pier for the new vessel. So we have 1 more summer sea term on the Golden Bear. So that's a great thing. And then the year after that, there's discussion whether it's going to be Golden Bear or we're going to send our students to one of the new vessels with the other state maritime academies for their experience. And then 2027, if it comes in time, we will take the Golden State. If not, then that would be 26 is next year. 27, we might ship share with another school. And then 28 would be the first one on the Golden State. So that's kind of the long-term plan on it. In terms of list of items to bring, there are about 6 mandatory meetings that the students go to throughout the year. And during these meetings, they learn about what's expected of them, what they need to be prepared for. And on one of these meetings, there is a packing list. That packing list is also on our website under marine programs with the summer sea term. That packing list has changed over the years, and we actually updated it this last year with the input of a bunch of seniors that said, really, they need to take this and they need to take this. So it is a pretty lengthy list of, we have required things and then niceties, things that make the cruise a little more comfortable and that have been vetted by the other students to say, these are things that you want to bring. So all that information is on our website and it will be disseminated to the students at the required meetings.
Thank you, Captain Bannister. I also want to address this from a slightly different lens. If the parents want to know what is needed now when the student is coming to campus, if there are additional pieces they need to get that are not part of the uniform issue. If that was your thought, I'd like Jay to kind of talk about that, or even Craig.
Yeah, sure. I can start off with that, and then Craig, you can add anything. Really, so basically, any new student coming in to the Corps Cadets should be working directly with the bookstore, and they'll be supplying everything that your student needs as far as for what they need to wear, uniform pieces arrival here on campus. The only thing that your student would have to purchase now would be the work boots. We don't supply the work boots. We only provide guidance of what the work boots need to entail. And with work boots, as an incoming student, all of the work boots, they should be made of leather, right? Full leather. You see boots out there with like suede and all this different stuff. They should be work boots. They should be made of leather, which is fire resistant. They should have slip resistant soles. So think about like Vibram soles, because they're gonna be walking around the ship and walking different areas. That's gonna be really important. The boots need to be either steel toe or composite toe. That's going to be a safety thing for sure. And then there was one other, they need to be black in color. For incoming students, the boots have to be black. So those are going to be the 4 primary things. I think on the website it says fire resistant, oil resistant. But if you're getting a full leather boot, you're getting a boot that has a good sole, and they're black in color. And what was the other thing? Oh, you have steel toe or composite, you're golden. You're good to go.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about additional pieces like black socks and undershirts?
Yes, that is a good point. So that is something. So with their uniforms, I guess something we are not supplying is white undershirts and black socks. So that is going to be a requirement while in uniform. Regular black socks is what your cadet will be wearing. They can't be wearing white socks or any other socks. We do inspections at formation. In addition, so underneath their khaki uniform or underneath their salt and peppers or even their working uniform, they'd be wearing just a regular a regular white undershirt. That's what they're going to be wearing. So between those 2 things, as well as the boots, that's going to be the primary things that your student's going to need. It's a great question.
Thank you. Are khakis worn every day for ME students? How many uniforms will they receive?
So they'll receive 2 sets of khakis. Students are always able to purchase more if they like. However, when they're in labs or doing work on board the ship, typically they'll be wearing their working uniform. So you saw earlier when I posted up the salt and peppers khakis in the working uniform. So, but the khakis is the standard uniform of the day. So that's going to be the uniform that they wear most often. Yes.
Can cadets wear their own black shoes? Can you purchase extra pairs of khaki pants?
So black shoes would be authorized when not wearing uniform. So it'd be after hours. So cadets are required to wear uniforms every day during the week from 0700 to 1630. So while in the uniform, they can only wear their their black baits that are issued with them, which is their dress shoes or their black boots. And I'm sorry, what was the other question?
Um,
The second part?
can they buy extra khakis?
Absolutely, they can totally buy extra khakis.
All right, now I lost my place because I was trying to let parents know what 1630 is. How will watch standing work this year with Golden Bear out of port?
Yeah, there is going to be, like the other maritime academies that have received their vessels, there is a time that the ship won't be here. But we are going to have some watch standing that will be on campus. And then we are going to probably backload a bunch of that required watch standing when we get the new ship. So they will have plenty of time to make up for their sea time, and it won't be above what they normally do. And then we're going to do some similar watch standing on campus, which is what we used to do traditionally. We used to have I stood a watch at the gate when I was a cadet, and we had watch standing that was at different centuries on campus.
Thank you. Do they need to iron every day?
So typically they don't necessarily need to iron all every day. The uniforms there, a lot of them are wrinkle free, but the idea is to look sharp, to take pride in your uniform. So you shouldn't come out, looking like a mess. But typically having to iron every day, I don't necessarily have to iron my uniform every day. As long as once I wash it, I take good care of it. I hang it up. I think they'll just be fine. And we're not the military. We do have high standards, but we also understand that we're working university. The cadets are hands-on. They're learning by doing. They're going to get dirty. Their uniforms are going to get wrinkled. So if there's a high-level inspection, the cadets will know about it well beforehand. Our typical inspections are making sure folks are wearing the uniform properly. If there's a small wrinkle in there, we may offer an on-spot correction where we say, hey, next time, please focus on those wrinkles a little better, right? Because that first impression, right? You can never get that back. So.
How would the students sign up for that 1 credit professional development course?
Absolutely. So from my understanding, that course is open now. I know we're going to be talking about it at orientation coming up. So students will hear more about it. We'll actually have the professor that's going to be teaching. She's spearheading these first 3 courses. So she's going to be talking about it, but it should be open right now in the portal. I can get the name of the exact name of the 3 courses and share with Anita so she can share out. But if your student misses it this first time around, it's totally okay because the way we're building it, the initial course that's the prerequisite, we're also going to offer in the spring. So they'll have ample amount of opportunity to do it. But really, I had a meeting the other day about these courses. And although we'd love to see first year cadets jumping in these courses, and they can, it's going to be really geared towards once they get into their second year. So even if they miss it this first year, they'll have plenty of opportunity to just learn what it's like to be here, get in the groove with your regular classes, and then they'll be able to step in those opportunities if they miss it this first year.
Thank you, Jay. And just a reminder that on Monday, the 18th, all the students will meet with their faculty and advisors, and they'll get a chance to update their block registered schedule. And this can be one of the questions that they can ask on how to best utilize this offering. What is the protocol for students who might get seasick? Does it go away?
We go over this in the meetings, and we have a lot of meclizine on board, and it's outside the medical office, and we recommend students who think they might get sick to start taking it ahead of time. So it normally does subside after a couple 24 to 48 hours, couple days at sea. By and large, people get acclimated. So if they are feeling seasick, then they see the medical person and they get bed rest, and the medical people have things that they tell them to do. But yeah, we do have plenty of medication for it. There's different kinds of medication. The student, if they're feeling nervous about it, there's magnets that you can wear. There's meclizine that we have, and all sorts of things. So yeah, we take care of everybody, make sure that they're not suffering.
Thank you. Are third-year transfer students eligible for cadets?
Absolutely.
And I'll just elaborate on that too. So a transfer student, it's interesting because we talked about that progression from the fourth class cadet to the first class cadet. A transfer student, as they come in, where their class standing, cadet class standing is. So they'll start off as a 4C, but depending on their experience and background, they may be able to bump up as far as in class standing. Maybe not necessarily watch standing and different things, but definitely with the class standing and what their focus will be geared towards on for sure. Because we have students that have served, 4 years in the military, then they come in. Even though they start off as a 4C, they may be bumped up.
Thank you. What is the cost of summer sea term for the Golden Bear and commercial cruise?
So the cost is on our website. We are pretty much, our cost for summer sea term is a lot less than the other state maritime academies. We have a tuition cost that is, it is mandated by the CSU, the CSU. So all tuition with them stays the same. And then we have a cruise cost. So cruise cost has gone up a little bit, and it probably will go up a little bit more, but the details of all of that are on our website. You can Google it, and I'll try to find the link that gives you all the details, and I'll post it in this.
Thank you, Captain. Do you have information or an advisor who can assist with an ROTC process and enrollment?
All right, I'm going to stop searching and answer this. So we do have on another part of our website is if you go, I believe it is military. There's a link for military opportunities. And there are professionals in both like the Navy, the Coast Guard, that you can talk to about the service and what they provide and the obligations that they have. So yes, there is an ROTC, and we do the student incentive program. It has increased in their funding quite a bit in the last couple of years. So there is a great amount of opportunity for some financial assistance through them. And that is on the website if you go to military opportunities.
I've added that NROTC link. I was able to find it.
Thank you, Vanita.
Of course. I have the same issue, but I take AFROTC at UC Berkeley. I know AFROTC sometimes doing PT on the morning, and my question is how to manage time with Corps Cadets formation conflict.
Yeah, we have 2 cadets right now that are currently in the Air Force ROTC that go to Berkeley on Thursdays. I'm not exactly sure their schedule, but I mean, if it's going to be the exact same time we work with our cadets, but I do know that our 2 cadets, I'm pretty sure they still are able to make our formations, or at least they were this last semester if that time hasn't changed. One thing that we have allowed for students that are in the ROTC, we do allow them to wear their service uniforms on Thursdays on their ROTC days in lieu of wearing the regular cadet khaki uniform. But like I said, we're flexible. We try to work with the cadets best we can. That makes sense.
Lupita wants to know if it is a leather upper that's required for the boots.
That's correct. Leather upper is what you want.
Okay. Uniform belts are included in the sea bag issue that you will get on the 16th. How high do the boots have to be?
So we don't have a specific height requirement, but they should be leather work boots, so they should go up to your ankle. They shouldn't be low riders, and you don't need the combat military boots that go up to your knees or anything like that. If you just Google regular leather work boot, and like I personally have Redbacks. It's an Australian-made company, and they'll give you a good idea of what a boot should look like.
Thank you. We're at 6:31. If any of the presenters have a hard stop, please feel free to step away. Just know that we're very appreciative of your time and your participation today. It looks like we have about 7 or 8 more questions to cover. But please step away if your schedule doesn't allow staying. Does the undershirt have to be crew neck or V-neck? Okay. Crew neck.
It's crew neck. You saw Craig.
Can you buy the boots at the bookstore?
The bookstore does not supply the boots anymore. No. They used to, I think 2 years ago, where everybody got the same boots. I believe they're Bates. They were not popular. They didn't last that long. So no.
Are there requirements for winter coats or jackets?
So with our uniform, the cadets are supplied three different outerwear pieces. One's a huge Carhartt work jacket. Then you also have a quarter zip fleece. And then the third piece is going to be a rain jacket. And typically that's usually enough. We do allow under the working uniforms, if they wear an all blue sweatshirt underneath the coveralls or overalls, they're allowed to wear that as well. And then wear their black outerwear over top of that. And that's typically fine for the weather we get here. It can be cool, but it's never that cold.
Thank you. Do students have any communication with family during their cruises?
They do. We got Starlink 2 years ago. Every cadet has an email which can be used to contact family and friends. And with the new purchase of Starlink, every cadet can call home for free at any time from any phone. And that was a huge improvement and was a reduction in medical and counseling visits by 60%. So we will keep that going. So yes.
Wow, thank you. For the dinner, how do you enter you don't need to put your student's name. We've got them covered. So we'll account for them. You just register the family. Students get okay. Have you seen any conflicts with athletic student commitments in the Corps?
No, we work well with athletics. If a student has a commitment with athletics where they're going away for a competition, typically their coaches or the cadet themselves let us know, or typically their divisional commanders, so their student leaders know, then they let us know, and that's no problem.
We seem to have exhausted our questions. I just wanted to give all the families a quick second if anyone was not able to type in their question because they're driving or any other reason. Please unmute and ask your question. This is that time.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you covered the haircuts, whether they'll be able to have is it on site or they have to go out for haircuts?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't offer any haircuts on site. However, good news is you can have long hair. I know our deputy dean of students has dreadlocks. He could be in the Corps Cadets if he wanted to. There's just the way you wear the hair. So if you just have to make sure it's pulled up in one singular bun. It just can't hang more than 3 inches below the back of your collar. But we unfortunately do not have haircuts here on campus. But there's a few low cost places off campus.
I thought you had said you.
Go ahead. There was a question in there about where the classes will be held with the Golden Bear not on campus.
Some of the classes have been relocated ashore, and we can do the same tasks ashore. Others, there are simulators that we're going to be utilizing, and we are in the final process to see if we can take some students out to the Golden Bear to accommodate specific classes. So there might be some classes that are still held aboard the Golden Bear.
Are the students going to be traveling from campus to where the Golden Bear is anchored?
For those couple classes, that is a possibility. Yes. And that would, transportation would be provided. Yes.
I apologize for missing a question, which was, what happens with cruises with both school and Navy cruises during the same time? I'm not sure we quite understand that question. If you're talking about the Bear cruise and commercial cruise, they're different years. They're never in the same summer that your student has. One is after when they finish their first year. The other commercial cruise or any other cruise which is not on our Golden Bear is when they finish their sophomore year, and then when they finish their junior year, they do the bear cruise again. I hope that helped answering your question. Nothing else is popping up. It's 6:36. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart the presenters who joined us today. Go ahead, TNZ.
Are the internships paid, or the internships don't pay, do they?
Some do.
Some do. Depends.
Yeah, some do. It
okay.
depends on the company, and yeah, some do.
Oh, okay.
And that's true for
Thank you.
not just commercial crews, it's true for all internships that students get during those years when they're required to have them. Some are paid internships. That's why it makes a lot of sense for them to do well. They have their first choice when these internships become available to our career services. I'll go back to thanking our presenters for being here today. And as always, very appreciative of all the family members and supporters who are here on the journey with their students to success. We will see you again one last time next Tuesday at 5:30, talking about academics. Again, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.